Okay, recording.
Awesome. Well, good morning, everyone. We're so glad that you could be here today. Um, is it showing me talking? Yes, yes, yes. Good
Yes,
job.
it is.
This is the first time I've been in this office, everyone. I just opened up a new office in my basement because one of my daughters moved out. So here I am. Good morning, everybody. We just want to welcome you to this workshop. This is one of my very favorite workshops, and I'm so glad that you could find the time to register and join us this morning. This is journaling in difficult times. This is actually the third time we've offered this workshop, and it always fills every time. And Tiffany will be recording it, and it will be posted, I'm thinking by Friday or Monday on
Oh
the
yeah.
staff development website under recorded workshops. You'll find it there. It'll be at the top. Okay, so if you have friends who want to watch it and missed it today, they can view it there. But we hope that you have something to write with, either a pencil, pen, and some paper or a journal, something that you can write with, because we'll be doing that today. And this is a lovely Tiffany Rouse Culp here that you can see on your screen. She's an English professor and the director of the SLCC Writing Across the College program. And she has actually volunteered to do this workshop, created it for all of us, and it's been wonderful. So I'm going to turn the time over to her and we'll get started. It'll take the entire hour to do this workshop and you'll totally enjoy it. Thank you again, Tiffany, for doing it for us.
Okay, thanks, Deanne, and welcome everybody. It's good to see all your names and some of your pictures this morning. Yeah, like Deanne said, I created this workshop in response to basically what everybody has been going through this past year. And it seems to have been received well. So we're recording this workshop today so that we can make it available to anybody who wants to take it on their own time. In addition, starting Monday, we're going to be holding um, Monday and Thursday drop-in journaling sessions from 12 to 12:30. I will have 2 or 3 journal prompts each time. We'll just have the space open for you to journal, take a break from your day, and it'll be very low stakes, very low stress, just as a time to center with yourself. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and get to the presentation. Let me get this started. All right. So I have my chat open in case you would like to say anything as we're going on, but also I am a teacher who actually enjoys it when people interrupt me because that shows me that you're engaged. So feel free to unmute yourself at any time and ask a question or make a comment. That would be just great. All right, so what we're going to do today is we're going to learn why writing can help reduce stress. We're going to learn different ways to use writing to reduce stress, so different journaling strategies. And we're going to use strategies for getting started journaling and for keeping going, okay? And throughout the workshop today, we're going to be doing some journaling activities. So like Deanne said, please have something to write with. It can be digital or it can be analog. It can be a pen and paper, or it can just be it can be your phone. It can be, your computer, anything that you need. All right, so that's what we'll be doing. Let me go to the next slide. But before we get started, sometimes writing teachers or people who facilitate journaling courses. Oh, hold on 1 second. Here's a question. Alex asks, will you be paying attention to the text chat? I can't really speak over the microphone without creating a disruption where I'm at. Yes, Alex, I do have the chat box open, as I just demonstrated. Okay, so sometimes people who teach journaling or who facilitate journaling, they don't take the added precaution or put out there for everybody to see that journaling is not a substitute for professional mental health support and treatment. If you are in crisis or feel like you might harm yourself or someone else, or if you feel like you cannot cope, contact 911 and your healthcare provider. The reason I say this is because sometimes journaling, although it is intended to help you center yourself and help you get in touch with yourself and process difficult feelings, sometimes those feelings can get beyond your ability to cope with them on your own, and journaling will not be enough at that time. And so just as out of responsibility, I want to provide you with these phone numbers. So there's the Uni Crisis line there's the National Domestic Violence Hotline As we know, domestic violence has increased dramatically since the pandemic has started. There's a suicide prevention lifeline. Again, suicide has increased dramatically as well. And then our own SLCC Center for Health and Counseling. All of these resources are available for you should you need them. There's no shame in reaching out to any of these. In fact, one of the bravest and strongest things that you can do is reach out when you need help. Now, I will be providing you a copy of all of these slides after this workshop is over. So if you didn't have time to write down those phone numbers, that's fine. I'll be sending them to you. Okay. So before I go on, does anybody have anything they want to check in with me about before we move to the next slide? Okay, we're good. Okay. So we're going to do our first journal entry. This is going to be a 3-minute write. And I want you just to write on the prompt, recently life has been, and just write whatever comes to your mind for 3 minutes. And I'll be playing some music so it's not just silence. All right, you've got 1 more minute. Okay, go ahead and finish up whatever thoughts you're on and come on back to the workshop. Now, that may have felt like a short time to write or a long time to write for you. It was 3 minutes. It's a good way to get started. Now let's talk for a moment about how journaling reduces stress. So let's talk about the way that it works. Okay, so first of all, when you journal, you are externalizing the emotions. You're releasing the emotions that you have stuck inside. The process of externalizing our emotions through writing or through talking is a way to release them. And that releases some of the pressure that we have by sort of keeping the emotions all stuck inside of ourselves. as we do this regularly, we start to process our feelings. It's difficult to process our feelings when they're just in that emotional state inside of us. That's why therapy works. That's why talking to our friends works, talking to trusted colleagues, because if you can put your feelings outside of yourself and name them and discuss them, then it allows you to move through them. Also, something that works is through doing this over time, we can start to identify patterns. So what are some patterns of emotions that you feel, or what are some patterns that of behaviors that you engage in, either to like deny that you're feeling things, or trying to, run away from things that you're feeling, or just to, if things are difficult, just how you cope with them. So what are the patterns that you use that are both positive and not so positive? So what helps and what doesn't help? This leads to finding some clarity. So when we're clear about what works for us and what doesn't work for us, that can reduce the level of stress that we might be feeling from any one day. Another term for this that's from the mindfulness and meditation world is I can never say this word, equanimity. So you kind of find this clarity about what works and what doesn't work. Also, what's at the bottom of something for you. Once you get that clarity, you can start to solve problems. Often I'm somebody that I can't actually figure out what it is that I'm feeling or what it is that's bothering me. I can't even start to problem solve it until I write it out, honestly. I'm somebody who thinks through writing in many ways because that's a way that I externalize. Another, over time, as you do this over a longer period of time, it will increase your self-knowledge, just as any type of, like talking with others or sharing your thoughts and feelings. This is how you increase your self-knowledge, and then that will help you prepare, how you're going to deal with circumstances when they arise. So, for example, I know that when the world outside gets a bit chaotic, I know that it causes stress for me in ways that sometimes feel overwhelming. And so I know how I need to sometimes turn off the news. I need to sometimes turn, inward, or I need to talk to people. I know what works and what doesn't work for me in times of stress. Another element of how journaling reduces stress is the practice of gratitude. Now, there's a lot of practicing of gratitude. There's a lot of ways to practice gratitude, and journaling is one of them. And it's a specific type of journaling called gratitude journaling. And we'll do a little bit of that today. One thing I want to say about practicing gratitude, however, is I don't want to encourage you to only practice gratitude with your journaling. We live in a culture that's sort of obsessed with happiness. It's sort of obsessed with curating our lives to make ourselves look as if our lives are perfect to others, or that we're always joyful and always happy. And sometimes the gratitude practice can play into that. And if we feel like we should only practice gratitude, that's not going to help us in the long run with our journaling and with the stress reducers that journaling is supposed to do for us. Let me pause here for a second for the chat. So Alex said, I often feel numb and detached from my emotions when I'm journaling. I can identify behavior and tendencies and emotions intellectually through writing, but I do not feel connected to the feeling. Will you cover this kind of issue in the workshop? That's, Alex, I can really relate to that. I think that is a coping mechanism. And let me say right here, I'm going to big time out right here and just say, I am not a psychologist. I am a writing teacher and just a human who's journaled and has done a lot of my own therapeutic work on myself. So I can really relate to that in that when I'm journaling, I am intellectualizing my emotions, and that's part of what that processing the feelings is. In terms of feeling connected to the feeling, that is probably something, if you feel like that you can't quite connect to the feeling, that might be something that's probably better explored with a therapist. Because I think that is a way that many of us cope with our feelings. We detach from them. And I can tell you just from personal experience, really the only way that I've been able to start to connect to my feelings has been through that really hard work of therapy. It can be scary and difficult, especially if that's um, how you have coped with the world. And so journaling, I don't think necessarily is going to help you connect with your emotions. It will help you see your emotions, like how mindfulness and meditation does. Um, Sometimes you can release them, but because you're putting in them into words, there's always going to be a cognitive element. There's always going to be kind of an intellectualizing of it that way. That's probably not the answer that you wanted, but just from my own layperson experience, that's how I would respond to that. Monson said, I never know what I think about something until I've read what I've written on it, by William Faulkner. Yep, very good. Yep, me and William, we feel similarly. Okay, so let's go on and keep the questions and comments coming in, okay? Oh, go ahead.
So I just wanted to add to that. That's a quote that I always share with my students throughout the term. And it's really great to see, the beginning of the term, they don't really quite connect with it. Mm-hmm. But as we go through the process of having them really get engaged with their writing and become connected with it and, really put greater intention and vulnerability into what they're writing about, always by the end of the term, the students are like, oh my gosh, like, yes, like that's mm-hmm. totally true. And they find that reflection moment. I think that's one thing in education in general, we don't create enough opportunities for reflection. And, as in this workshop, even just on a personal basis, having moments to reflect and we get so much information bombarding us on a day-to-day basis and, the society we live in now, that it's really good just kind of like take a moment and be like, hey, like, how is this all affecting me? What do I
absolutely
feel?
Yeah.
And how do I think about it?
Yeah, thank you, Monson. Yeah, thank you. Hang on, let me go back to this. Yeah, thank you, Monson. I think that what you're saying there is very important. What I want to emphasize here is that what we're shooting for with journaling is we're shooting for contentment. We're not searching for happiness or joy, and what I mean by that is we're not searching for always joy or always happiness. We're searching for contentment. Our lives are complicated. They're full of, ups and downs and happiness and loss. And so journaling is trying to get to that, like I said, that place of equanimity, contentment, that we're generally content with ourselves as people and our lives. And even so, I think I would say more even with ourselves than our lives, because sometimes we're not content with our lives, but if we're content with ourselves within those lives, then we're doing pretty well. Let me emphasize again, though, with trauma, there's a lot of evidence that shows that journaling and writing can help integrate the experience of trauma. And it's through that externalization and putting a narrative to something that somebody experienced, but this should always be done with a professional. If you are actively using a journal to integrate trauma or to deal with trauma in your life, I do encourage you strongly to reach out to a professional because trauma's different than just the everyday emotions that we have. So take that seriously if you are experiencing that. And again, no shame in that at all whatsoever. All right, we're going to go to our next journal. This is a 6-minute write, and this is going to be, what do you need in your life? So go ahead and write for 6 minutes on this question. You've been writing for 3 minutes. Okay, you've got 30 more seconds. All right, go ahead and finish up the thought that you're writing right now. And let me pause for a second and see if anybody has anything they want to put into the chat at this point, or any questions they want to ask, or anything they want to share. Okay, it's looking okay out there. All right, so let's talk for a minute about different ways to journal. First of all, the thing I want to emphasize is I put this picture of all these different types of journals on here because I don't want anybody to think that there is a specific requirement for the type of journal or what a journal should look like. Sometimes there are these very fancy like Moleskine notebooks that cost $25 that we feel like might inspire us to journal. And if that's what inspires you to journal, then that's great. For others, that might feel intimidating. My type of journal is mostly like the green spiral bound notebook there on the bottom. I find the fancy journals a little bit too formal and fancy for me because I end up writing with gusto in my journals, and I'm not very neat and tidy about it. Also, journaling can take place, digitally. You can, use your computer or your phone, any way at all like that. So there's some basic strategies for journaling. So one is just to free write, and that's what we've done. That was what the first journal prompt was, where you just start with a prompt and like today, or, things that I need, that type of a thing. And then you just write. But the thing with free writing is that you need to write and not stop. So when your mind stops thinking of what to write, the thing to do then is to just continue writing the same thing that you've written over and over and over again. So it might be the last word, it might be the last sentence, it might be the last whatever, and just write it over and over and over again until your mind starts again. until your brain engages with you again. Now, the reason to do that is because it cuts out the editor. We all have editors. We all have critical editors in our mind when we're writing, regardless of what we're writing, even if we're just writing a journal for ourselves. And we'll stop that flow of ideas, and we'll stop that flow of thinking if we allow ourselves to. So another way is to just respond to questions. And that's what our second journal entry was about. So I asked you a question, very similar to free writing. The only difference is one's a question and one's just a prompt, a sentence prompt. Another way to journal is to list. So a lot of people prefer listing as opposed to writing in paragraph form. That's completely fine. There are really no rules when it comes to journaling and how you're supposed to do it. The only guidance is that you're getting your ideas and thoughts out on the page or on the screen, however that works for you. A second level of journaling is taking, responding to questions one step further. So you might ask yourself a question and answer it, but then within that answer, you grab another question out of there and then answer that. It's sort of like those Russian dolls that are stacked inside of each other, or an onion that you might peel. So maybe you'll write for 5 minutes, you'll look in what you wrote, you'll grab a question from there, write on that for another 5 minutes, take a look at what you've written, grab a question, and then keep going into that. And some people will think that that will make you dive deeper into something, and it may, but it also might turn you into different directions. And either way is fine. Another thing, some people reread their journals and then rethink what they've been writing about, and might pinpoint something that they want to explore further. That's completely fine. Some people never reread their journals. I'm somewhere in between. Sometimes I reread them, often I don't. And so anything, either way that you want to do that. I'm going to get, so one question that's come up a few times with this workshop is the concern of having other people see what you've written. And one of the things I want to emphasize, and I'm going to emphasize this again in a moment, is that your journal should be private or only shared with somebody that you trust completely. Some participants have even gone so far as to being concerned what will happen to their journals after they pass away, and that they don't want people to see them. And understandable. If you're journaling the right way, you're putting things the right way. I don't mean the right way. If you're journaling in a way that evidence shows is going to be most useful for you, you're going to be putting things in the journal that you probably don't want to share with other people, because you're trying to explore yourself. You're trying to get to know yourself better. You know, it's absolutely fine to get rid of a journal after you're done with it. You don't have to keep them. They may, you may want to, might be interesting, but you don't have to. And so just be aware of that. And, as you're writing and as you're thinking about this. The other thing I want to emphasize here is that sometimes handwriting or typing is difficult for people. Either, we are not used to, we're not used to handwriting so much anymore. So our hands can get very painful when we use a pen or a pencil. Also, sometimes people are not so adept on the keyboard. And so that might not feel quick enough to get our ideas out. So remember that speech to text is writing. So as long as you are getting those words out there, then you are writing, okay? So any questions or comments before we move on?
So one thing that I do that's, I guess it's, it's not the emotional journaling, but it's similar. So I do reading journaling and podcast journaling as a way of just kind of helping me sorting my ideas, building the foundation for starting new projects, new concepts that I kind of have in mind, but then using reading or podcast sources to kind of solidify and find connective points. And then as I sort through what I've read or what I've heard on the podcast, and I'm journaling and listing my ideas, then that helps me ignite more connective points to my ideas, so that they actually turn into what I'm hoping to achieve with the original spark that I have. And so
great, great, thank you.
I think that's another form of helpful journaling for me.
Great. Thank you, Monson. Wonderful. Okay, we're going to go on to our next one. This is a list journaling, and this is going to be, so I'm asking you to do a list, to list at least 10 positive things in your life, okay? So you got 4 minutes to do this. So go ahead and get started. Okay, you've got 1 more minute. Okay, go ahead and finish up whatever thought you were working on at that moment. And one thing I want to say about this one, this is a form of gratitude journaling. And if you were able to get 10 positive things in your life within that 4 minutes, that's fantastic. If you were able to get more than that, that's even better. If you weren't able to get to 10 positive things in your life, I encourage you to start thinking smaller. So sometimes, especially when we're feeling really down or when we're feeling really, I don't know, isolated or, just things have not been going our way. This is when gratitude journaling can really help, but it forces us to start small. So for example, one thing that I can say that that's a positive thing in my life right now is this sweatshirt that I'm wearing. It's a big, bulky red sweatshirt that's from my son's ultimate Frisbee team. I was given it because I was the manager of the team in terms of doing all their registration, and they gave it to me, and it's such a pleasant reminder of a good time in my life, and it's terribly comfortable as well. So when I feel down, I can think of small things like this sweatshirt or shoes that I have, or my dog, or anything like that. So gratitude journaling is really quite useful when you're feeling pretty miserable. But like I said, let's always balance gratitude journaling with other type of journaling. I had a question of, will I be sharing the slide presentation after this? Yes, I will. I'm also going to be sharing with you a list of 50 prompts that you can use. This presentation will also be linked on the staff development recorded workshops page as well. So it will be available to everybody. Okay, so let's move on. So here's some strategies for journaling. Okay, so the previous slide was about how to journal with the free writing and the questions in this. This is more just general strategies, how to make yourself a practice of journaling. So first is consistency. So try to write at least 3 times a week. You don't have to write 3 times a week. If you don't write 3 times a week, it's not a bad thing. But to make any kind of positive, change, we kind of want to get into a habit of it. And that's one reason we'll be doing the twice weekly journaling for resilience lunch breaks, basically, this semester on Mondays and Thursdays at noon. That'll get you 2 times for each week. And then if you can do 1 more on your own, then you'll be meeting that level of consistency. Also, like I said earlier, write for yourself. There are different types. The journaling sessions will be a half an hour. Write for yourself. This is different from a journal. So this type of journaling for resilience and journaling in difficult times is different than journaling to write for a public audience or write for perhaps your descendants or an audience, like putting together a memoir of your life or just a record of your life that you're hoping that people will read at some point in the future. This is writing for yourself. And so, don't show it to people. Keep it with you. Put it in a safe place. Get rid of it if you need to, or just lock it up. However you want to make sure that you're writing for yourself. Let's see. Alex, I'll get back to you when we're done with this, okay? I see your questions, but I'm going to go through this and then I'll get back to you, okay? The journaling sessions, if it was just that last question, the journaling sessions will be a half an hour. Okay, the next one is convenience. So bring your journal with you, paper or electronic, when you think you might have some time. Now, when we go to the doctor, we have to wait outside usually until we go in. Bring your journal with you, sit in your car and journal for a few minutes. Just anyway, those times that we get distracted by our cell phones, scrolling through Twitter or scrolling through the news feed, replace that once or twice with journaling and, you'll be on your way. Next, patience. So if you stop journaling, just start again. Don't worry about beating yourself up that you haven't, consistently done your journaling. I can tell you, I have stopped journaling. I mean, I've been journaling since I was probably 15 years old. And, but I can tell you, I have had breaks of years that I haven't journaled in that time. I'll journal, 4 years and then I will stop because it doesn't seem like I need or want to do it. I'm just actually getting started on a journaling practice again now after having not done it for probably about 5 years. So, there's no judgment when it comes to journaling. It's something that's for you, not something that you should feel, that it's not a should. It's not something that you should do. It's something that is for you. Okay. The next 2, kindness and bravery, are the same thing. They're 2 sides of the same coin. So one is, I want you to be kind to yourselves when you journal, because sometimes something might come that you're not really happy about. You might write things about yourself or your feelings or your thoughts that, you know, they might not shine the brightest light on you, but you need to accept what comes. And no judgment of yourself. We're all complex human beings. And also bravery. So sometimes we might see some things in ourselves that, take some bravery to look at. And so accept what comes, no judgment. So journaling should be about learning about yourself, finding out about yourself, and accepting yourself for who you are, knowing that you are a good person, regardless of thoughts that you might have. And you have a lot to contribute and a lot to, you're good as you are, basically. Okay, so we're going to go to the last right for this workshop. It's 7 minutes. You can use any strategy that you want. You can use just free writing. You can do listing. You can ask and answer. You can do it however you want. And this is a year from now. I hope that. Okay, so 7 minutes. Okay, you've got 3 more minutes. 30 more seconds. Okay, go ahead and finish up what you were writing. Get back on the screen here. All right, so just a few other thoughts before we end our time together. So when you're journaling, try to write for 15 to 20 minutes at a time. The total of all those journaling practices that we did was 20 minutes. So that gives you a sense of how long that would be. But don't worry if you're not able to write for 15 to 20 minutes. This is also more important as you're getting into the practice of journaling. So after you've developed your habit of journaling and maybe there's a day that you only want to write for 1 or 2 minutes, absolutely fine. But try to develop a practice of writing for a little bit longer of a time, because what that does is it flushes out the initial ideas and thoughts that you might have and feelings that you might have, and it allows you to get a little bit deeper into it. What that does as well is it flushes out that editor that's sort of critiquing your writing as you're going along. And you know, it helps you get to that discovery phase of journaling. Let me remind you, if you can't think of what to write, let's say you're going along and you just run out of thoughts, don't worry about it. Just repeat a word or a phrase until your brain turns on again. I assure you it will turn on. It may take longer than you like, but it will turn on again. So just, you know, keep going. To emphasize, turn off your editor. If you are doing your journal digitally, so using your computer or your phone, one way to do this is you can turn off your computer screen or turn down the screen, and you can just make sure that your fingers are on the right keys and then just start writing. And when you can't see what you're writing, there's less of a tendency to edit yourself. There's more of just a fluid transfer of ideas onto the screen that you're not seeing. So that's something that I've done a lot in the past, especially when I'm stuck. I can't quite get to what I'm trying to get to. I'll just, you know, or I'll close my eyes, but fortunately I can touch type. But another way to do it is just to turn down your screen or put something over your screen and write. The next thing is to write outside of the lines. And what I mean, I sort of mean that literally. So if you're using a journal that has lines in it, allow yourself to break the rules of staying in the margins, staying in the lines. If you're feeling it, like if you're feeling emotion and you're handwriting and you need to write harder, or you need to write bigger, or you need to scribble, if you need to write faster, if you need to write jaggedy, do it. This is one way to get back to the original question about connecting with your emotions while you're journaling, which tends to intellectualize what we're feeling. Your emotions can come out if you allow your hand to express those emotions, if you allow your writing to do that. Sometimes you will write more neatly, sometimes you'll write messier. Don't worry about it, because this journal is not for others, this journal is for you. I can tell you that some of my journals, I have no idea what I've written because I have been writing so frenetically that I can't read what I've written, but that's not the point. The point is not to go back and read what I've written. The point is to get those thoughts and feelings out at that time. And if I need to do so in a way that is messy, then that's what I need to do. Also, you can doodle, you can draw what you feel. You can do emojis. Emojis are all the thing now. Do whatever you need to externalize those thoughts and feelings that you're having. And then finally, let me emphasize to ask for help when you need it. Sometimes journaling is going to calm you down. Sometimes it's going to wind you up. Talk to trusted friends, talk to trusted colleagues, family members. And again, there's those phone numbers that I talked to you about at the beginning of the session. Sometimes we need help, and there is no shame in asking for help. In fact, I'd like to think that it's one of the bravest things that we can do, particularly in our culture that sometimes has a hard time asking for help. So I think that yes, that is the last screen that I have. If you have any other writing-based needs or desires, I am available to do other workshops on other topics or to work with you individually on your professional writing for work. This is my contact information. And let me emphasize again that we will be starting our bi-weekly, I don't think that's the right word, twice a week, our twice a week Journaling for Resilience series. There'll be half-hour spots on Monday and Thursday from 12 to 12:30. You do not have to attend the whole half hour. They'll just open up with, I'll have prompts available for you. You can drop in, write for as long as you want, stay for 5 minutes, stay for 15 minutes, and then be on your way. Yes, I will be sharing the slides with you. I'll be sending around the slides, and I will be sending around a set of 50 journaling prompts for you that you can use at your own discretion. Some of the prompts will come up in this Journaling for Resilience series, but some of them will just be there for you to use. So does anybody else have any questions before we sign off and go about our Thursdays? I will stop sharing the screen. All righty. Well, I hope that you have a lovely Friday and a lovely weekend and get your rest before the semester starts. It's going to be another interesting one, and we'll get through it together as we did last semester. Thank you so much, everybody.
Oh, Tiffany, I just wanted to say one last thing. Thank you so much for doing this workshop for us. And thank you everyone for joining us for the workshop today. We know your time is precious, and I hope it was well spent. It was for me. I did learn one new thing today that I didn't learn in the last two, and that was that it really doesn't matter if I'm scribbling, journaling, doesn't matter, because really I won't go back and read it. I never have. And I wanted to let all of you know that I will be sending out a survey to all of you this afternoon. So please take just the 30 seconds that it takes to fill it out and let us know, give us your feedback and let us know what your needs are so we can hopefully meet those needs for you. And then Tiffany reminded you about the twice weekly sessions starting on Monday, and we'll be sending you the slides from today. And I sent that link out to all of you with the reminder, but we'll send it again, okay?
Great.
So thank you. And thanks again, Tiff. It was awesome.
Thank you so much, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.